Everybody to this nice sunny Friday. So we're going to have good weather. We have a great performance for you this morning. Miss Sensei Tanaka's 4th grade class has been rehearsing, and this is of course our friend Korematsu Civil Rights Assembly, and we're very proud to have many students having exposure to this curriculum. So we have some special guests today that I want to recognize. Mr. Dale Minami. Dale is here. He's going to be answering questions. Mr. Minami was the leading lawyer for the Fred Korematsu case. You'll see many handsome photos of him in his younger days. And he's still quite a debonair gentleman, and you'll hear him answering questions today. We have Nell Noguchi, and Nell is our who has experience in internment. So we have an authentic person who's lived through the internment process. And close friend of the school and the community. Then we have some special guests from Shiga University in Japan, who are also studying about social justice and curriculum of integrating different cultures together, and that is Dr. Tsuge and Dr. Kodama. So from the Consul General, we have Miss Tamagawa. We're very grateful for the Consul's participation in all Japanese curriculum programs here at Clarendon, and appreciate your attendance. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dia, who's going to kick off the assembly. Come on, Dia.
Welcome everyone to the Fred Korematsu Assembly. Fred Korematsu is a civil rights hero who stood up for what is right. I'm excited for everyone to see Room 207 skit and learning more with Mr. Minami. Please enjoy. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Do you know that next Tuesday, January 30th, is Fred Korematsu Day? He was a civil rights hero who stood up for what is right. It was wrong that the government put more than 120,000 Japanese Americans in incarceration camps during World War II. Those Japanese Americans didn't do anything wrong. This is his story.
It was a beautiful Sunday morning on December 7th, 1941.
Let's go to the top of the hill and listen to the radio.
Breaking news! Pearl Harbor has been struck by Japan. More than 2,400 people have been killed.
That is not possible. Why did Japan do that?
The next day, the U.S. government declared war on Japan. Japs keep out. Japs keep out. We have to get rid of Japan. We cannot tell we're loyal to Japan. They are all spies for Japan and will help Japan win the war. They should not farm here. This land's for Americans.
On February 19, 1942, President Roosevelt issued Executive Order 9066. 120,000 Japanese Americans across the West Coast were incarcerated just because of their race. Only a few people refused to follow the government order.
I am an American citizen. I was born in Oakland and lived here for 23 years. They cannot do this to me. It is not right. I'm going to stay with my girlfriend.
Why don't you get a plastic surgery and change your name?
Good idea.
Doctor. Hello, I'm Dr. Martinez and I am your surgeon today. Done. You look the same.
Fred tried to continue living his life as before. One day, while he was waiting to meet his girlfriend on the street, he was approached by police officers.
Let me check your ID. The enemy! We are taking you to jail. Hi, I am Ernest Bessing, attorney at law. What they did to you is unconstitutional. We have been looking for a test case like yours. Let me help you.
Okay.
Thank you for your help. I'm surprised. Thank you. I will fight this all the way to the Supreme Court if I have to.
Fred testified in his own defense at the Federal District Court in San Francisco.
Guilty! Bail will be set at $5,000.
Here's a check. Come on, Fred.
Yeah, I'm free!
Hut 2, 3, 4. Hut 2, 3, 4. We need to take you to camp.
Wait, he's a civilian and we just paid bail. He has a right to go and be free.
But we have military orders.
You have to come with us right now. Fred and his family were sent to the Topaz internment camp in the Utah desert. It was surrounded with barbed wire and had 7 guard towers watching over it. Fred worked hard, but he was alone. Fred, you should not fight. Don't go to the Supreme Court. Just drop it.
You're bringing disgrace to Japanese Americans with this lawsuit.
We must obey the government in order to show that we are loyal.
I disagree. We are in a prison camp. We didn't do anything wrong.
They hate us because we look different. It's better to keep quiet. In December 1944, the Supreme Court ruled against Fred Korematsu in a 6-3 decision. Justice Black and Justice Frankfurter were among the 6 who support the exclusion order.
I support the exclusion order. We find it constitutional at the time because it was wartime. Korematsu was aware of the order but violated it, so he's guilty of a misdemeanor.
Anything necessary to win the war should be done. Some things may not be pleasant, but we should consider the fact the country is at war. Justice Roberts, Justice Murphy, and Justice Jackson were against this decision.
Korematsu's case is a clear violation of constitutional rights. With multiple orders, Korematsu was expected to give up his freedom before challenging the military orders.
I agree that some Japanese might have helped Japan, but it should not be used to assume the guilt on the part of every member of the Japanese race. This is obvious racial discrimination.
This is like a loaded weapon waiting to be used. The judicial system should not be made to enforce military orders. Judges should apply only the law, otherwise the courts will become instruments of military policy.
After his release from camp, Fred could not return to the West Coast and had to continue fighting racism against Japanese Americans. After World War II ended, Japanese Americans lived in poverty and stopped speaking Japanese. Fred returned to Oakland with his wife Kathleen in 1949 and never talked about his case. In 1967, Fred's daughter Karen heard about her father's case for the first time from a high school classmate's report.
Good morning, class. Please share a report. Maya?
Okay, in 1944, Korematsu lost this case. The Supreme Court upheld the massive incarceration of Japanese Americans based on military necessities and hardship as part of war.
Korematsu, that's my last name. I need to go home. Mom, I learned about somebody in history class named Korematsu. Are we related? That is your father. What? How come you didn't tell me anything?
In 1981, civil rights attorney Peter Irons made a shocking discovery while looking at government archives about incarceration.
Peter, look at this. The FBI said that there is no evidence of Japanese Americans acting as spies during the war.
The government knew that the Japanese Americans did not pose a threat. They suppressed the evidence, but they said the exact opposite. The government lied to the Supreme Court. I'm gonna go talk to Fred.
Yes, Peter?
Fred, we'll reopen your case.
We need to find a good lawyer who can help you.
I know. Here's Dale Minami and his legal team.
Thank you for your help, but I'm surprised that you guys all look like high school kids.
A team led by Sensei Dale Minami reopened Fred's case in 1983. By then, Fred was 64 years old. They reopened the case to try to seek a measure of justice denied to the Japanese American community during the war, and Fred had his trial in 1943.
40 years ago, I came to this courtroom in handcuffs. I was sent to a camp. This camp was not fit for human habitation. Horse stalls are for horses, not for people.
This is not a 40-year-old misdemeanor. This is a monument to injustice, which affected the lives of 120,000 Japanese Americans.
and a countless number of friends and neighbors by the mass imprisonment of a single racial group. The public interest then demands more than a sterile recitation that we shall let bygones be bygones, and requires that the real substantial reasons for the imprisonment be exposed so that this tragedy will never be repeated.
I would like to see the government admit that they were wrong and do something about it, so this will never happen again to any American citizen of any race, creed, or color.
United States District Court Judge Patel ruled from the bench.
I vacate. Mr. Korematsu's conviction was on grounds of manifest injustice. Korematsu remains in the pages of our legal and political history. It stands as a caution that in any times, our institutions must protect all citizens.
What happened?
Fred, you won!
Oh, that is good. That is good.
In 1983, the Commission of Wartime on Relocation and Internment of Civilians issued its report, Personal Justice Denied. Judge Willie Marutani was the only Japanese-American member of the commission appointed by President Jimmy Carter to review the facts and circumstances surrounding Executive Order 9066.
The exclusion and incarceration were results of wartime hysteria, racism, and the failure of political leadership. We recommend a presidential apology and individual monetary redress payments to each affected Japanese American and the establishment of a community fund.
In 1988, President Ronald Reagan formally apologized to all those who were impacted by Executive Order 9066. In 1998, President Bill Clinton awarded Fred Korematsu the nation's highest civilian award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
In the long history for our country's constant search for justice, some names of ordinary citizens stand for millions of souls. Plessy, Brown, Parks. To that distinguished list, today we add the name of Fred Korematsu.
Thank you. Fred remained a civil rights activist throughout his life. His growing legacy continues to inspire activists of all backgrounds.
We learn to stand up for what is right.
If you have the feeling something is wrong,
Don't be afraid to speak up! Happy birthday, Fred Korematsu! Domo arigatou gozaimashita!
Please welcome the lead lawyer for Fred Korematsu's legal team, the real Mr. Dale Minabe. Thank you so much for coming today. It is a pleasure to meet you. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, but I'm not sure where I'm supposed to sit. Am I supposed to stand here? I'd like to just thank Junko Yamada, Yuka Hashimoto, and of course Principal Peter Van Court for doing this assembly. This is a very important lesson that is being told through this wonderful play. And by the way, it's one of the most accurate plays I've ever seen talking about Fred's life and his case. Although the students are a little bit young, but still, I thought it was a wonderful play. I'd like to thank Clennerman. I'd like to thank all the teachers. I want to say hi to my daughter Ellie and Lena. They go to the school, so I'm proud to be here and happy to be here. I think they're going to ask me some questions, and we just have to wait for the curtain to open and the chair so I can sit down because I'm old. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Cassius and I will be conducting this interview session with Mr. Minami. First we would like to ask about the incarceration camps.
Hello, my name is Junior, and I learned that your parents were sent to an incarceration camp. What did they do all day, and how are they treated?
As my parents were sent to a place called Roar, Arkansas. It was a swampland in the southern part of Arkansas. I was not sent to the prisons there because I was born after the camp, or after the incarceration. Who we have here today, though, is somebody who was also in Roar, Arkansas with my parents, and her name is Nell Noguchi. And she could actually talk about what it was like to be in these prisons because she was there. So if we could get the microphone for Nell, and she's sitting right over here. She's going to stand up and talk. Nell Noguchi.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nell Noguchi, and I was in Roar, Arkansas camp for 3 years. My mother and my father, my two sisters and I, and my brother were all incarcerated. And we didn't know where we were going. When we got on the train, they piled us all onto the train, pulled all the shades down. We had no idea where we're going or what's going to happen. We traveled for, I don't know how long we were on the train, and we were told to pull the shade down during the day, so it was dark. And at nighttime, we were able to pull the shade up. Of course, you couldn't see anything outside. So when we finally ended up in Roar, Arkansas, where he was talking about, way out in the swamplands, and there was absolutely nothing for miles and miles. And we were surrounded by barbed wire fences, and there were towers with soldiers up there with rifles, ready to shoot anybody that would be willing to cross over the fence. And one man did, and of course he was shot. But these are things that I remember, and I'm to this day, it's been a long, long time. My father passed away in camp. He developed cancer, and my mother and I finally left camp when they were ready to close up the camps. They wanted everybody out. Okay, move, out, out. Well, where are we going to go? We had nowhere to go. But my sister lived in Denver, Colorado, so somehow we went over there, and from there we came back to California. But I will never, never forget the experiences that we had and all the tragedies that we had. But we are grateful that we are still alive and we can still enjoy our lives here. Thank you very much.
Imagine having to live on this stage, this area of a stage, with two other families. You have no bathroom, you have no kitchen, you have poor medical services, terrible food, and you have to live that way for 2 to 3 years. Your whole families, 2 or 3 of them on this stage in one place for that long. It was a prison, so it was not a nice place to be at.
Thank you.
Zeev is going to ask about Fred Korematsu's case in 1983.
My name is Zeev. Were you nervous representing Fred Korematsu? How did you feel about standing up to the government?
When we first met Fred Korematsu, I was nervous about meeting him. For us, he was a famous name on a famous case. It's like meeting a movie star in a way. You see them on TV, but you never get to meet them in person. So meeting Fred was pretty exciting. I was not nervous about the case, strangely enough. We knew we were going to win that case. We had really good evidence that the government had lied to the Supreme Court about Japanese Americans. We had papers that admitted that we are lying to the Supreme Court about Japanese Americans being disloyal. We are lying about Japanese Americans committing espionage and sabotage. So we knew we had a really good case. And so that part of it we were not nervous about at all. And as far as standing up to the government, sometimes the government is wrong. And sometimes you have to know when they're wrong and you have to be willing to challenge them. And before Fred's case, I had probably sued the government 10 times on different kind of cases. So it was like I was practicing for Fred's case. I had enough of these cases to go against the government. And you just have to be sure of your case and sure of your client. And I was like that for all these other cases. So for Fred's case, we were very confident and we were not too nervous.
Thank you. Next, Tomaya and Kaya will ask about Mr. Korematsu and his life.
Hi, my name is Tomaya. What was Mr. Korematsu's personality like?
Fred was, you don't want to call him an ordinary guy, but he was a regular guy. He liked golf. He was on the Lions Club. He had a lot of friends. He liked to laugh. He loved food. And he loved his Heineken beer now and then. So he was pretty much like a lot of people in this country. Where he was a little bit different is, and this is not different in a bad way, is that he really believed in America that he should be treated equally. And what Fred seemed like on the outside was a shy, very normal person, but he believed in his principles so strongly that he was willing to go to prison. He was willing to go to jail for what he believed. And that's what made Fred a little bit different. He was willing to stand up and speak out and risk going to jail almost for the rest of his life, although that didn't happen. So that's what Fred was like.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kaya. What is the Presidential Medal of Freedom? How did Fred Korematsu help others stand up for what is right?
Fred received an honor. They call it the Presidential Medal of Freedom. You saw that on stage here. And it is what they call the highest civilian honor bestowed by the United States government. Very few people receive this honor. And Fred was chosen because of his willingness to stand up for his own rights and the rights of all Americans. So Fred's work over time in standing up and speaking out was able to inspire people to do the right thing, to stand up for other people's rights, not just his own. Fred was concerned that we needed to enforce the Constitution for everybody out there, regardless of your race, regardless of your religion, regardless of your color. And so that's what Fred was able to do, and he was able to inspire through his own story, his own example of standing up.
Now Jimena and Lucia would like to know about your thoughts about the past and future.
My name is Jimena. Will you forgive the president at that time for mistreating Japanese Americans during World War II?
I thought about that question. That's a hard question because, if this was just a mistake, like sometimes, somebody accidentally hits you without meaning to. But this was, in Japanese, they call it wazato. It means intentional. They intended to imprison an entire race of people when they knew that they were wrong. So it's hard to forgive somebody for doing that to your family, for doing that to anybody in this country when they know that it's wrong for them to imprison a group of people. So to that extent, I cannot forget a president, somebody who does something that intentional. But I can forgive the government. And here's why. Because this country in 1988 apologized. It said, I was wrong. I'm sorry. We were wrong in putting you in prison. We were wrong in what we did. And when the government or any individual can say, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, I think you have to really be carefully listen to what they say and take seriously that if they apologize to you and they admit they're wrong, that's very, very important, and it's something that helps you heal any kind of hurt or wound. So that's my answer.
Thank you. My name is Lucia. If there was another war, do you think something like this could happen again?
That's another hard question. I do believe it could happen again. I think after September 11th, when the Twin Towers in New York were bombed, after we were at war in the Persian Gulf War, some Americans were calling for out for doing the same thing that they did to Japanese Americans during World War II. Imprisoned an entire race of people. Imprisoned an entire group who believed a certain religion. So what was bad is that people were saying this could happen again. And in the right conditions, this country can actually be overtaken by hysteria and racism or prejudice against a particular religion. And they can call for the imprisonment of the entire group of people again. But the good news is that after what happened to Japanese Americans, so many more people stood up and tried to protect their friends, to protect other Americans against an entire race or group of people being imprisoned. And so that made it harder for the government or anyone else to try to imprison an entire group of people. So the answer, the short answer, is yes, it can happen again. But it can only happen if good people are silent and good people refuse to stand up and support their friends and fellow Americans from this happening.
Thank you.
Our last question will be asked by Roshan. Hi, my name is Roshan. What did you learn from Fred Korematsu? How can we make the world a better place?
I think what I learned most about Fred Korematsu is personal courage and standing by what's right. Here was a man who could have gone to prison, gone to the internment camps and not having his name in law books or being thought of as somebody that was really different. Fred inspired all of us to understand what is right and try to do what's right. And while you might understand it, you need to take action. You need to step forward. You need to speak out. Because just thinking it's wrong is not enough. I think you have to stand up and take some action or speak out. And I think that's the greatest lesson of a Fred Korematsu, that all of us could be like him. All of us could have that courage. And all of us could help fight injustice by doing something about it.
Thank you. Now we are going to start Q&A, question and answer. Would anybody like to ask a question to Mr. Minami? Only one. In the first row in the blue and black shirt. You can come up. Just like this. How many years, far from now, how many years from now, so, how long did Fred Korematsu live?
He lived till in his 80s. He passed away a few years ago.
I know that he died before I was born because I already know that he's really old. Thank you.
Two students from room 203 present to Mr. Minami and the audience the haikus they have made studying about Japanese American incarceration history.
Hello, my name is Mickey Ferraro, and I'm going to present the haiku that I have created. He fought for his rights, stood up against government. He was courageous.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Lin. Here is my haiku. I packed my bags up, left friends and family behind, and turned far away.
The students from room 203 and room 206 would like to present a book of haikus to Mr. Minami.
We were inspired on creating these haikus by the lessons on Japanese American incarceration during the war and the perseverance to create these haikus.
Thank you very much. This is wonderful.
We also have a student representative, Lucia Jimena, to present a gift to Mr. Minami as a show of appreciation on behalf of all of us at Clarendon. Would you like to say a few words?
I've already talked quite a bit. So just thank you so much for this opportunity and for the chance to talk to you folks. We never had this chance when I was that young, so I want to thank again all the folks who were involved and all of you who have come out here today, even though of course you had to, because this is school. I hope you learned something. So thank you very much.
Thank you everyone and Mr. Minami for coming to the assembly. I appreciate that we have the great opportunity to think how we could stand up together for what is right. Now Ms. Tanaka would like to say a few words.
Thank you, everybody. You guys have been a great audience. You're listening and you're watching all the time. So thank you so much. Now, Mr. Minami and Neo-san, thank you so much for your help. Without you, we can't do this, every year. So we really appreciate it. Now, student representatives, can you come out? Let's give a big applause. Thank you so much. I would like you to have some attention to the Brigham boys, room 203, room 206 students, teachers, Mrs. Lee and Ms. Nagata. Thank you so much. They posted the hike poem, so please look at it. And all the 207, good job. Thank you. All the teachers, parents, and guests, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your time, just taking, come to this assembly. And let's remember, we stand up for. Thank you. We'll see you next year, okay?